friends, it's Alexa from Alexa Loves Books, and I am very excited to bring you my first monthly recommendations video today. Monthly Recommendations is a Goodreads group that was started by Trina from Between Chapters and Kayla from Kayla Rain, and I've seen a couple of these videos from some of my other favorite booktube channels, so I decided I would jump in on the fun. April's theme is survival stories, and I had to think really hard about which books I wanted to feature in this video because I was so sure I wouldn't be able to come up with any for this month. Luckily, I was able to figure out a few, and I thought I would share them with you. So the first two, I actually don't have the books here, and they're actually books I read when I was really young, and that is Hatchet by Gary Paulson and Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell. I really enjoyed both the stories when I was younger. I remember I used to reread Island of the Blue Dolphins over and over again, and I reread Hatchet quite a few times as well. Both are stories of characters that are left to fend for themselves. In Hatchet, it's a male main character. In Island of the Blue Dolphins, it's a female main character, and those are very clearly survival stories. Hatchet, he is just trying to stay alive until rescue can come for him, and Island of the Blue Dolphin, she basically is just left stranded on the island and has no choice but to fend for herself. I really liked both of those, and I would highly recommend them. I actually feel like rereading them now that I think about them. Okay, so there are a lot of different types of survival, and I hope I'm going to be showing you a variety today so that you find one that you could possibly be interested in. First off, let us talk about These Broken Stars by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. This is a survival story in that the main characters are the only survivors after this major spaceship cruise line crash type thing, and they are forced to fend for themselves on the planet that they crash on, and they have to figure out a way to make contact with the rest of civilization so they can be rescued. Then I have two books where the characters have survived some form of abuse. I have Blue-Eyed Devil by Lisa Kleypas, one of my favorite contemporary romance novels. The main female character, Haven Travis, actually gets out of an abusive marriage, and she has to learn how to survive the after effects of that, and I really think this is one of those romances where it's actually tackled really well, and I really enjoyed reading this story. And the other one is Stronger Than You Know by Jolene Perry. The main character has grown up in an abusive household with just her mom, and she is basically taken by her aunt and her uncle and now lives with them, and she is forced to deal with the aftermath of all the things that she's gone through as a kid in an abusive household. And then we have survival stories where these are characters who are basically just trying to survive the effects of war, and specifically the World Wars. So for World War I, we have The Girl You Left Behind by Jojo Moyes. This is actually a dual timeline story, and it's only one of the timelines that tackles a main character. Her name is Sophie, and she is basically living in a town in France that is occupied by Germans. And so she is forced to survive because her husband and the other men, the young able-bodied men, are no longer there because they fought in the war, and she has to make do with the rations and like the living with the Germans. One of my all-time favorite historical fiction novels that is set during a world war is The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simons, and the main character and her family are basically trying to survive the siege of Leningrad in this novel, among other things. She has to go through a lot of stuff in this one, and Tatiana, who is the main character, is definitely a true survivor. And we have Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys, and this one is told from 4 different perspectives, and majority of those perspectives are characters who are basically just trying to survive the after effects of the war and the approach of the Soviet troops onto the place where they live. They're basically trying to flee their country and get on one of the ships that will take them to safety. And yeah, again, surviving the war and the effects. The last two I picked are unique in that they're about surviving situations that you can't control. The first one is All the Truth That's in Me by Julie Berry. The main character in this one, Judith, has actually she was taken, and she comes back, and of course she's different now, especially because her tongue has been cut out. So she is trying to, you know, adapt to living again where she used to live and trying to deal with how people see her now. And I think that's a very important survival story. It's very different because she doesn't have an actual voice, so now she's trying to express her story and what she knows and trying to figure out the relationships with other people in the only way she can. The very last book I'm going to show you is one that made me cry buckets of tears when I read it, and it is Torn Away by Jennifer Brown. This is the story of a girl named Jersey, and she basically loses everything when a massive hurricane hits the Midwest. And she basically just has to survive the aftermath, not just the physical aftermath, which is she lost everything, her home and the place that she knows and loves, but she also lost her entire family. And so there's a grief that she has to overcome in this story, and I really, really like that. Those were just some of the survival stories that I would recommend to you guys. If you have any survival story recommendations for me, I would love to hear them. So please, please, please tell me in the comments. And I hope you enjoyed this video. All of my social media links are below. I will see you guys soon. Bye!